After that, we got MJF speaking for the first time. Man, and as I was saying, this promo was all over. It was everything, the good, the bad of MJF. And then, like, the idea is, like, I hate the belt switching. Like, and yes, get worked, blah, 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 get worked, Rich, da, da, da. I hate it. Like, I hate switching the world title.
Do you want to go through it? Do you want to go through it, or do you want to talk about, like, the main things?
I mean, I'll go through it here. So, like, Regal came out, mentioned Jon Moxley's gone, and then Regal came out with some new music. Turned out to be his farewell music. And MJF threw his gum at a little girl.
I missed that.
And MJF basically, he talks about how him and Regal's unholy alliance came to fruition. More email lore here. Regal emailed MJF after the firm attacked him, said MJF became weak and he's willing to help him learn how to be a true villain. He shouldn't have to grab the dynamite diamond ring, but the brass one. And Regal wanted to use the brass knucks and leave Moxley with an emotional scar when he was outsmarted by MJF. So maybe that's the answer, James, when we always are wondering, like, why does it have to be that chair you hit him with? It's the emotional scar. That's what it's supposed to be. But
well, yeah, it's always that. But it's like, there are like. But Sasha and Bailey, like, there's 40 chairs. Don't just use that one chair. Who gives a shit? Aren't y'all tired and desperate and want to get this shit over with?
No.
Like, yeah. So we can continue from there. Like, that's my point about, like, the means don't justify those ends. Like, you're just trying to get it over with.
So he said he respected the firm who smelled blood in the water, but he's not going to chase them down. His effort is for pores. MJF basically.
I popped for that line.
MJF said the AEW title is tacky. He said he needs an upgrade and no champions on a former level. I thought he's going to pull out a completely new version of the belt, which I would have been totally fine with. But he threw the old belt out the ring, and he basically pulled out something called the Triple B, the Big Burberry belt. I feel like LeVar Ball should be calling and putting in a cease and desist right now.
I had BBB like thoughts of LeVar Ball too. I really did.
LeVar Ball could not be happy seeing his intellectual property being encroached upon here.
Has enough time passed where you can put LaMelo back on pro wrestling television?
Why not? He was in high school then.
I know, that's my point.
Bro,
like, obviously, like,
one of the great lines in pro wrestling history. Beat that
ass. Right, bro. Every month or so, I'll see some wrestling match or whatever else, or I'll see someone get ran up on. In my mind, I'll think in the back of my head, beat that nigga ass. But yeah, man, like, next time they go to Charlotte, why not? Like, he liked wrestling, he's been there. Obviously, he will never be able to be on WWE again. Like, hey, yeah, bring the mayor of the city out.
I'll make a suggestion. So, after that, he pulls out this belt, and the leather is like it's brown Burberry. I immediately dubbed it the shit belt. That shit looks like shit.
Rich, you could barely tell that there was something that
it was like painted, but I was like, it's not that different. But the thing is, I see it. And,
right.
In fact, I see it.
But
it's like,
you can only see it up close that there's actually a Burberry print on it. Yeah. Outside of that, it just looks like the regular belt. And like for me, it's like, if you're going to do it, you need to actually get, like, you know how Gucci belts have like that particular tan
needs to be like
color.
that wheat.
Like, it needs to be a tan wheat color and to make it actually pop in that way, but it didn't. So this was like,
it's like a brown.
It looks weird. It just looks weird, and then you can only on the up close shots can you actually see the Burberry print on it. It's like, okay, so this was a miss. This was a miss.
Yeah, I hate the belt itself. Like it reminded me of the putting the fucking when Daniel Bryan changed the belt to the fucking wood belt and shit, like
the wood grain.
Yeah, like, no, bro. Like, this is supposed to be like the fucking pinnacle of the business, and like you're making it like this thing. Like,
yeah, and he's doing it for heating. We know that. I just think that, like, if you're going to do it for heat, then like actually go all the way and actually like make the leather the color of MJF's scarf. Don't do it to where it's like you either you got to get your HD fucking camera up real close on to actually tell the difference, or it just looks like kind of like brownish instead of the regular belt. Like it was a miss for me in that particular thing. Like if you're gonna get heat with it, actually go all the way and do it.
Yeah, he basically says he ran down Eddie Kingston. He basically said, he's a fake tough guy. He said Ricky Starks is a fake star. I immediately popped, came out my chair laughing on that. And he called Bryan Danielson a fake wrestler. He said Regal tried with Danielson, but some people just can't be helped. He said he's going to be champion until the bidding war 2024, and his title will be a bargaining chip. And I rolled my eyes like all the way, like. Yep. And then he started mentioning Nick Khan and his boy Trips, and then being bitters, but also mentions Hollywood calling, and I was just like, "What the fuck are we doing here?" Like someone got to reel him in.
He's getting heat because and then he's like, I know there's people that are.
He basically then like keeps going, and then he basically sends a message directly to us pro wrestling podcasters that have already kind of like learned his techniques, so to say. He said the fans who cheered him winning the title are fickle and will complain just like everyone else. He talked about his reign is going to go longer than Hogan and JBL and Jeff Jarrett, and said his reign is going to make Bruno Sammartino roll in his grave. He turned and he thanked Regal for what he did to him. Oh, and he basically said, he said some other shit, like as far as like, people have to go through guys to fight me. Like some of the stuff James has brought up.
He's like, look, I'm going to wrestle less and less and less. You won't see me. If you want to see me wrestle, you will have to pay for it on pay-per-view. And you will complain, but then like you will then show up and watch it. And I was like, okay, we'll see. okay, we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
And then like obviously, one rating does not mean anything, but like you told me the rating after this or for this show was bad, and I was like, it's interesting. I don't think it means anything necessarily, but like we started seeing the trend, I think like, okay. But yeah, man, like it doesn't interest me. It doesn't actually like make me mad. It doesn't make me want to see him. It just makes me like, you're just being annoying. You're not actually evil. You're just annoying. Like you're not actually despicable. You're just like doing things. I kind of don't like these kind of heels. But whatever. Like he's talented, so he'll make the most out of even this thing that I think is a bad idea. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's I think that like he's done so many good things this year. Like as far as like actual stuff like being a heel and being like, it's like funny because. He did this shit, and it's like I know how to be a good heel because I've seen it,
right?
And then when I see this feels like the low hanging fruit of heeldom, where it's like the constant jerking off of Triple H and WWE, and it's like, bro. I feel like that works like as like a face thing at AEW. You shit on WWE. Like that's just like that's a thing that's established. And I guess he feels like, if that's something they can cheer, that's something they can boo, right? But at the same time, you kind of you don't want to cast AEW as the second class company. Like you don't want to do that. And that's been my central issue with MJF since he went off in the ring in LA. Like where I was like, this shit is weird and people are cheering this and like you're gonna fuck around and poison the environment, and you didn't have to worry about that for a long time.
Yeah. And my thing is like, if he believes that for real, that's fine. Like if he wants to like literally make this into like, I'm going to try to get myself as high as possible that I can actually do the bidding war. Great. That's better for wrestling that he does that, right? But I don't know how that is supposed to be appealing to fans that like you are constantly telling them that like nothing that we're seeing like matters that much, because what really matters is once I hit free agency, because then I'll go be an asshole on screen over there instead. It's like, well then why am I watching this now then? Why does any of this matter for then?
Crystal Fisher brings up a great point. It's only appealing for people who hate AEW, with the MJF stuff. And MJF has kind of become someone that these people have rallied behind. You can normally say there are no stars except MJF. I'm like, bro, do not try to force me into turning against MJF. Like, because I like MJF, and like, I do not like the people that are trying to boost this shit like as like this is the only real way to be a star and all this other shit. Like, no, don't do this. But they from there he basically turns and yeah, it's like all the Cornette people, like, you know, MJF is like, you know, and MJF's like kind of winking into it too. He did the thank you, fuck you, bye stuff at the end of the press conference and all that shit. And it's playing with fire right here.
I never really thought of that before, but he did do that.
And MJF, he thanks Regal for what he did to him, did for him, but he then attacked Regal, hit him upside the head with the brass knuckles, and it stunned the crowd and the commentary, and he actually kind of got it back for me on this, because like some of this promo, I was like, oh, this is good, oh, this is bullshit, and then I was like, I popped big, because, you know, I don't like Regal. He knocks him out. Regal told Regal he had a lot to learn, basically like inverts the email message that he originally sent him like in that first promo, and kind of tied it up all pretty nice there. He said it was Regal that made a deal with the devil. He quoted his message to him years ago. He said when Regal's ready, send him his stuff. Then he left through the crowd, and Danielson sprinted out there with the doctors with one boot missing, and they loaded Regal on a stretcher to dead silence. I feel like Danielson looks like, okay, so last week when Jon Moxley was, and maybe this is all in service of William Regal leaving the promotion, and I can forgive this stuff, right? But like, they knew they were writing him off. Moxley wants to whoop his ass, wants to kill him, right? And Danielson runs out there, drops to his knees on some "don't hit my daddy" type shit, and it's just like it's like, why? It's like, nah, bro, like, fuck that. Like, he fucked Moxley, this world champion guy.
What do you mean, why? You don't get why you don't understand the pull or relationship?
No, I'm saying like like he's like, and he slaps Moxley, and it's like, bro, you standing up for this piece of shit, essentially, right? And then you're his protector after he gets what's coming to him, Regal, and he's coming to him. It's just like this isn't the Danielson I want to root for. Like, he just looks so weak and cowardly, and it's just a stark contrast.
He looks like a coward. What's the cowardice? I don't.
It's like, bro, you know what he did was fucked up. So like, you're pitting yourself against Moxley. So it's like, I just don't see the appeal. Like why would I want to be behind Bryan Danielson at all right now?
Okay, so obviously Regal did was
like
awful.
Some "don't hit my daddy" shit, and it's like, that's not
right, but
appealing.
Okay, so but the thing is, right, like, you want Moxley to beat up Regal. You don't want MJF to beat up Regal, because that has nothing to do with what Regal did. I mean, in a weird way, you'd be like, well, that's how karma comes around, but it's like, that's not the earned violence that you want to see, or the sense of justice happening in terms of like a right being wronged, or sorry, a wrong being righted by like violence, right? So like, if MJF does it, it's like, well, that's kind of sucks. He just beat up an elderly man from behind, and like,
who deserved
we just
it?
saw the week before, like
who transitively deserved it.
Yeah, but like, okay, so how do I say this? All right, if I kick your dog, like if I kick your dog, like, you're not going, like, are you going to be? You might find some joy out of something bad happening to me, but like, you really want to put hands on me? Like, I'm thinking the perspective of actually being a viewer is like, yeah, Regal did something awful, but like, I want Moxley to handle that. I don't give a fuck about the villain hurting another villain. Like, when people talk about like heel versus heel matches not working, that's the reason why. It's like, yeah, that guy's a bastard, that guy's a bastard. They beat each other. Like, I don't really get any satisfaction. They're both bastards. But yeah, like, as far as the Danielson thing, is like, Danielson explained it. Is like, this dude, while he did something fucked up and awful, like, I have a soft spot in my heart for this person because he helped my relationship with my dad. That I can only see through. That I only got an appreciation from the perspective of the hardships that Regal has gone through, and they helped me greatly. Like, so yeah, like I get the motivation for Danielson to still care about the dude. As far as does this make him a coward? I don't get the coward part, but maybe because he begged off of, or not begged off, but like begged Moxley not to hurt him. I don't know, but like it worked for me. Do I think this is like this makes Danielson the hottest babyface under the sun? No, and I don't think that was the point. It was like
a plate of piss to me.
A plate of piss. What was the last time you described someone as a plate of piss?
I would have to think about that.
Okay, because I don't think it's plate of piss. I think like it's a guy that is upset that somebody that he cares about got beat up, and he has mixed emotions, but he still is like, I'm still going to get my revenge from this person on behalf, and that's perfectly fine. Like, it's not as clean cut as like most world wrestling stories are, but like it's a little bit more muddy, and I'm fine with that. Yeah, but I will say this: like, I feel like all this is a nice clean break to get Moxley away from them to get out of what happened with like the title change. They move on from Regal, and they have Paige like immediately there pulling all the attention away from Moxley, eyes towards Regal or MJF. So I think that's that's neatly done right there. I think it works. I just don't know.
It just doesn't make me want to root for Danielson. Like, it's like, all right, like,
but he's not gonna be the champion anyway,
right? I like, obviously, like, but it's like, you know, I feel like he should be smarter. Like, I don't know.
But
like,
who outsmarted him?
I think he just.
I don't think
anybody necessarily
Danielson in this situation.
I don't think anybody necessarily like outsmarted him. I just think that he made what would be an unpopular choice to a lot of the audience. Like, you know, slapping Moxley, stepping in front of him, and then to immediately like keep going into this protector or whatever after, you know, he gets laid out by MJF, and then throw in the dynamic of people wanting to cheer MJF, and then it keeps getting fucked up here.
Well, that's MJF's problem, right? But what I will say is this: I don't necessarily hate that, because as we've been talking about with Regal and like in Blackpool Combat Club, like, given that you have the last battle or final battle thing with the stipulation for the main event, this could be like, all right, Cesaro's out, and like whatever the Danielson and Moxley conversation, eventually you have a conversation backstage where like Moxley's like, hey man, you're fighting on behalf of Regal? Fuck him. He fucked me. And that could be and that's how you dissolve it. Mm-hmm. Right there. It's like, I gave him a pass like you asked me to, and now you're still, you know, you're carrying on doing all this stuff. What about Yuta? What's going on with him and what's happened to JSA and all that kind of stuff? And they can dissolve themselves right there from that. Like, that's still, I feel like that's still a motivation they can play with to get out of breaking up the BCC. So like, I would wait on before having judgment on saying like this is bad or whatever else. And I think that's still there, and I feel like that's the lever to pull to get out of it.
They put Regal on a stretcher, and he was out that bitch. But
yes.
Yeah. So like overall, a very mixed bag for MJF here. I don't think this was like if I told you everything that was gonna happen here and then before ahead of time, I don't think that you'd have been like, that's how I want the MJF experience to begin as the champion. I don't think that
I think the Regal thing is strong. I think the Regal thing is strong.
I think that was awesome.
Yeah. I think the other stuff kind of is like that. I'm not looking forward to this any way, shape, or form, and I don't mean from a perspective of I'm going to tune in to hate, watch you, and all that kind of stuff. Or because you're a villain. It's like, nah, man, that doesn't seem enjoyable to anyone I find to be reasonable. Like, I just don't.
Yeah. So after that, Stokely and Ethan Page came out. Matt Hardy